Hello, everybody. My name is Mackenzie Blackwell, and today we're going to be looking at the Literacy-Based Promotion Act, particularly with the secondary grades and English 2. The Literacy-Based Promotion Act, or the LBPA, was created by the Mississippi Department of Education, or MDE, with the main goal to improve the reading and writing skills of kindergarten, first, second, and third grade. However, just because it focuses on first, second, and third grade does not mean that it's not important for fourth grade all the way up to 12th grade, and then it also as students go into college. So, speaking on that, secondary education and the Literacy-Based Promotion Act, the screeners that are given in the lower grades, specifically kindergarten, first, second, third, are extremely important. Um, because they identify different deficiencies for different children. And by the time children get to the third grade, they'll have the accommodations and modifications that they may need. Those accommodations and modifications from that time when they are determined through this act follow students all the way through middle school and high school. This includes any IEP, 504, or if they're placed in the tier system. All of this goes on record and follows these students throughout their careers in a K through 12 public education. Um, so it's extremely important in the high school setting that we know these things in order to better prepare for those students and to have an idea of where students are in their literacy, whether they're below grade, on grade average, or above grade average. These are a few research-based strategies that we're going to talk about implementing in our school this year to help improve literacy. These are some that we want to see in every classroom in one way or another. I'm not saying it's every day, but it does need to be, 2 or 3 times a week. We need to be seeing these. The first one is technology. So, technology in the classroom allows for engaging instruction as well as differentiated instruction. Um, you know as well as I do that not all students are going to learn at the same rate. And there are going to be discrepancies for some students, and then some students are going to be, above grade level already. And so technology is a great way to not have to put one, more work on you, and then two, to get that differentiated instruction and to really push those students to meet their goals. Um, and then, as the teacher, you can walk around, you can help each student individually as, you're monitoring their progress. One example is iExcel and No Red Ink. They both support literacy practices, and they can be set by individual standards. So the way these work is, if the goal is 70% on iExcel, then the student can keep working until they reach 70%. On No Red Ink, it focuses more on grammar. And if the student is, really good with commas, then they'll probably get done in about 10 minutes. If they need some extra help, then um, it will change the lesson as it goes to give them that additional help on commas. Um, these are good practices, and there are other practices as well. These are just two to be mentioned to improve literacy. This is an easy one. Hey, there's an extra 10 minutes in class. Go get on iExcel. Go get on No Red Ink. This is very simple. Assign maybe one a week, or two a week if you all assign one IXL a week. Um, even in on our specific, subject, with history or science or anything, even math, everything has reading in it. If we make sure that we're giving students an IXL lesson that has word problems, that's reading. Um, in science, if they're having to look at a graph and there's a paragraph that goes with it, that's reading. All of this is literacy based, and all of it can be done using technology. That students, like to be on the computer a lot of times, and this would really engage them, and it would also hit that literacy mark that we're trying to implement school wide. The second is student focused coaching. With this, data drives instruction. So, you will put your students in groups according to where you think they need to be best. And this is usually small group instruction and individual teacher coaching. So if you have a group of 3 to 4, even 5 kids, if you have a big class, maybe you have a few stations set up around the room. Every so often, they change stations. Eventually, they come to you, and then you get to work with them one on one. And on a specific standard, a specific idea, a specific lesson, and you get to really talk with them. And then the rest of the time, they're more or less self-governing each other, teaching each other, whatever that lesson or that objective is for that group. Um, One example is you put your groups in a history class. One is led by the teacher, and then a co-teacher can come in, or an inclusion teacher, or even an administrator, can pop in here and there, the first few times to get things rolling. But once students know what's expected, this hits multiple standards at one time, this hits different levels of rigor at one time. It lets them work together, which we all know, our students will usually want to work together. They want to talk. They're social creatures. And so the student focused coaching lets them teach themselves and lets you check in with them every so often. A co teacher can come in and help observe as well and help monitor as they walk around and answer questions. So both the technology and the student focused coaching, um, data is important for both, but the technology is that student engagement and getting on their levels for differentiation. And then the student focused coaching, um, you're really getting to hit the students on their individual needs while they get to work with each other as well. So we're really wanting to see both of these in the classrooms this year. So my job with leading literacy at our school, I'm going to oversee interventions, make sure everything's going well and, pop in and give encouragement, things like that. Um, if we need to figure out the best time to pull a student for interventions, I'm going to help you with that as well. I'm going to help with contacting parents and guardians. They need to know what's going on with their kids. And if I can take, a little bit of that off of your plates, then I'm going to do that. And lastly, I'm going to support you no matter what we do. I'm going to be there for you. I'm going to be, giving you tips and, tricks and things of that nature. And I'm hoping to learn something from you guys as well. Um, and so I will be visible as much as I can be. And, I'll meet with you to see what's going well, maybe what didn't go well, and we'll brainstorm, we'll work together. And then I'm also going to meet with students. If a kid's acting up in your intervention, then let me know and I will talk to that student. And if it doesn't get better, we'll take the necessary steps. We're going to look at the data of these students that are needing these interventions and the data of these students, even though who don't maybe need the interventions. Um, and then I'm also going to give you as many resources as I can find, and I'm going to share that with you. And if you need a resource, just let me know. But my goal is to make sure that you're able to teach what you need to teach in order to reach all of these students and to get our literacy levels up um, as much as we can with our students at our school. So, our tools for success specifically supporting English 2, because we are focused on literacy in this, is we're going to give a beginning of course diagnostic because we need to know where our students are. I would suggest, giving this as a grade because a lot of times students are not going to want to do their absolute best if they're not told it's a grade. That's just the day and age we live in. It can be, a participation grade. You can scale it. You can give them extra credit, however you want to do it, but give them some point system value to this because otherwise they're going to blow it off more than likely. And we don't need skewed data. Monthly cold reads. So every single month, you need to give students something they haven't read before based on the standards you've taught in order to gauge where they're at. That way, if you need to spiral back and reteach something or, it also can say, hey, these kids really got this. We can keep moving on. Benchmark exams. These are the truest way for us to figure out, for us to understand the data of where students are going to score on that state test. Um, if we have a student who came to us from the eighth grade scoring a 3 and all of a sudden they're scoring a 1, then there's a problem and we automatically know there's a problem. So we need to get to the root of that. Um, if a student historically scored 2s and all of a sudden they're scoring a 5, we need to look at where that student's sitting. We need to see, did they have another tab open? What happened that they went from a 2 to a 5? And you know your students better than I'm going to know your students. So these will be conversations we'll have concerning those first 3 bullets on this screen. Um, and then also, we need to make sure English 1 is being taught similar to English 2, because English 1 sets the stage for English 2. So we're going to be working, I and other administrators are going to be working very closely, not only with English 2, but also with English 1 to make sure that we're all on the same page on what needs to happen and to make sure our students are getting um, taught the standards in similar ways and that everything is rigorous and attainable as well. Lastly, we're going to have common planning with other English 2 teachers. Um, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense for there to be 2 or 3 different English 2 teachers and we have different planning periods. So we're going to make sure you guys can talk together and work together throughout all of this. And, we want the best for the kids and we want the best for you. So these are our ideas of how we're going to do this. And I'm also open to any other ideas if any of you have some want to share with me after this presentation. Talking about types of communication, communication is extremely important to the success of our students. And so this is a chart I found from an article and from 2025, and it tells you that email has the highest reach rate. So when you are going to communicate with your parents, guardians of your students, try that email. The second highest would be messaging, text messaging. So email, text messaging, those work very, very well. If you are not comfortable with texting parents on your personal number, which I'll be perfectly honest with you, that is okay. I don't like giving parents my personal number either. We can use our school app, which is school status in this case. It does text parents, they do get that information and they can text you back as well, but you're not sharing your number. So I would actually encourage you to use the school app of school status instead of text messaging unless you know those parents very closely. The next is social media. And then the last is printed newsletters. Those just don't get home as well, or as easily, I should say. So keep this in mind. Email, and then let's use our school app to reach our parents about anything we need. So we have a plan of communication. These are 6 different ways we can communicate with our parents. So please understand there are a plethora of ways that we can get in touch with parents of our students. Beginning at the top left is I want all of us to send a letter home at the beginning and middle of the semester. So a welcome back to school letter, and then end of the 9 weeks is how your kid's doing. Um, and you can tell them they can get extra credit for this, but or you can't give them to it as a test grade. We can't do that, but you know you can give them candy if they bring it back, whatever you need to do. But let's get those parent letters sent home. Let's make communication and make sure you get that signed as well. Um, the next is we're always going to have our message board at the front of the school on. So anyone driving by can see what we're talking about, see what we're doing with that. Um, that's going to be more broad and not specific, but that gives big events if we have anything coming up. Next, our social media coordinator will get any kind of big events posted on social media. So many people have Facebook, and that is our primary mode of social media. So that's going to be there as well. If you have any big announcements you need to get sent out, then please get with our social media coordinator. Moving down, we have school status. I've already talked about this, but with this, I want you guys reaching out to your students twice a month at minimum. And try to send some good stuff. Like beginning of the year, you notice little Johnny's doing a really great job, then go ahead and send out, hey, I've really enjoyed having little Johnny in class. He works really hard. He does all of his work. He raises his hand. He doesn't blurt out. I know that they're high school kids, but these parents still need to know that, and they still appreciate that you recognize their kid's a good kid. Um, and then by making that positive engagement early on, it's going to be easier to work with that parent throughout the school year as well. So twice a month, let's get that done. Um, you need to, I'm sorry, not you, we, administration and the office staff, whenever parents register their child, we are going to get updated contact information and get that put into school status and into all of our information databases that way we can have updated phone numbers. That is not to say that some parents may give us a false number. However, we are going to get as many updated numbers as we possibly can. And then, of course, we have the school one call system. That's for any big announcements as well. So we have plenty of ways to get in touch with parents, no doubt. Um, but the main thing you need to focus on is letters home at the beginning of the year, letters home at the middle of the semester, and then beginning of the next semester and middle of the next semester. And then also school status. I want you to talk to your parents twice a month. You can send a broadcast, that's fine. But I want you to get in touch with your parents twice a month, even if they don't respond. Um, because then we can show if something's come up. Hey, we've tried contacting you and just weren't able, we didn't hear back from you. But that's going to cover us, it's going to cover you. And we need to make those parent engagements as much as possible. There are a few steps we're going to take if we see student progress, as in they're moving on for the next grade, or possible retention. If students are doing well and we foresee that they're going to pass their state test, and then whenever we do get the information that they pass their state test, these are things we're going to do. Step one, we're going to gather that data and we're going to discuss it with you, the teachers, because we can't allow um, parents to know information before you guys know in regards to this. Also, test scores are embargoed. Secondly, we're going to let the student know they passed their exam, and then we're going to contact the parents. Um, Email, phone, letters, however we can, and they're going to be really excited, just like we're really excited that their child has passed. Um, However, if we see that a child is possibly not going to pass their state exam, there's a possibility they're going to be missing that component for graduation. There are a few things we're going to do with that. First things first, once again, we're going to gather our data. We're going to talk with you guys, the teachers, and we're going to make sure we're all on the same page regarding everything. Next, we're going to contact the parent guardian. We're going to arrange a parent meeting. If we can have one in person, that is ideal. If not, then we will, try other means of communication. But I really want to talk with them in person. um, if we foresee that their child is not going to pass their state exam and that they're going to miss that graduation component. Next, we're going to present any kind of interventions we've given. We're going to tell them all their grades they've got, any other information that they need. If they've, been a classroom disruption, we need to let them know that. If they've missed a lot of school, we need to let them know that and show, how this is hurting them. We're not going to hide anything from these parents, guardians, because they need to know what's going on, and we all need to be working together to see what we can do to get their child to pass. Um, if it's later in the semester or in the year, and their child's probably not going to pass, then we need to discuss the next steps with the parent guardian about if they do fail, then when they get to retest. If um, they get a high enough score, they may pass on concordance. It really just depends per child, but we need to have all this information up front, and we need to be able to talk to the parents about this because it's important that they know that we are doing our very best, and it's important that we're all on the same page and we're all trying to help our student in the best way possible with the parent support as well. Lastly, this is our reference page. This is everywhere that we've gotten our information from today. And if you guys have any questions, please let me know at this time. Thank you and have a great day.